Namaste, goddesses. Welcome to another episode of Planet Aphrodite with Meenal on this free day. And today we have someone who is a lawyer by profession and who is practicing advocacy for a group of people. Their basic requirements is beyond food and water, like most of us. And many a times people are not even aware about them. So this episode is dedicated to thalassemia. And we have someone who is not only living a great life, she is married, she is working with a great company, and she is also very, very active as an advocate for thalassemia. So please put your hand together for Anubha. Hello, Anubha, how are you?
Hi, Meenal. I'm very good, thank you. And thanks for having me on the show. It's really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to some great conversation.
Wow. So Anubha, I'm really curious about like when you came to this word and you're born with this. So how was things in your childhood, in your growing up years? And were you ready for it? Were the family ready for it? I would like to hear it all.
So, I don't think there can ever be any readiness for something like this.
Right.
Since it's a congenital disorder, it's a congenital genetic disorder. One does generally get diagnosed very early in life. So,
Right.
I was diagnosed when I was 3 months old.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously back then nobody really know anything about thalassemia, and I think the way they discovered is that I just started turning pale, and gradually they discovered that I would need blood every 15 days. And my mom tells me that initially it was a shock, and they were really shocked that something like this could exist and something like this could happen to one of their children. But I'm also told that my father was the most, enthusiastic and most inspiring and attached father, and he really took it upon himself to ensure that I got an absolutely normal life, and I think
Mm-hmm.
he did a very good job at that. So I think whoever I am today, the fact that I'm sitting here and I'm leading an absolutely normal life, is because of family support. So my childhood was almost normal in the sense that I went to a normal school. I didn't go to a special school. I was reprimanded. I was made to do homework, and all the punishments. And I think that's where parenting is so important. That I was never treated, in spite of being the youngest, I wasn't really pampered because of my special status. But at the same time, they took complete care of what the real limitations were. Because
Right.
sometimes what we end up doing is that, in our, feverish attempt to prove somebody or something is absolutely normal, we end up ignoring its real limitations, and
Right.
everybody has limitations. So I think they did a fab job at recognizing my real limitations and encouraging my real strengths. So while I was not ever allowed to go for sports, I was never encouraged to really run a lot or do any heavy exercise.
Right.
And my teachers were also kind of extra careful, but there was no extra pampering that really happened. In fact, there's an episode that I was never selected for dance in school, because I was not of normal height, and I wasn't growing up like a normal girl would, and I would never get selected for these dance classes or annual shows. And that's when my mother taught me elocution.
Mm-hmm.
And she used to be a great debater at her school and in her times. And she gave me her first speech, and that's when I first went to the stage and understood what it was like to be on the stage, and there's been no looking back. So I think what my parents always did was to try and turn whatever disadvantage I had to advantage.
Right.
And if there were things that I could not do, they would pick up things that I could do better than others, and
Right.
then train me in that. Debating was one of that. So I would say that I've had a terrific childhood. Of course, while growing up, when I was, an adolescent, there were many questions. Uh, I used to wonder why I'm not allowed to participate in sports period, and why I'm not running, etc. But then I was so much encouraged to be a good student, to be a good debater, that I think I almost sort of understood that not
Right.
everybody can do everything. So from that perspective, I would say that parenting has had a very critical role in my childhood and in shaping who I am today.
Thank you, Anubha. I mean, I'm still understanding your growing up years. And how was the journey forward? Like, how did you choose to become a lawyer and then get involved in the NGO part and creating this whole thing?
So, my father was very clear that he wanted two coats in his family, white coat and black coat, definitely. So, since we were three sisters, one of my sisters chose teaching, the other one chose medicine. Only the black coat was left for me. That, uh, but also the fact that I was such a debater, and I was almost invincible. Even today, when I look back at my schooling days, I get very overwhelmed and very happy that I had such a terrific time. So journey up till college level was great. Sometime around the time when I was in 11th standard, I developed hepatitis C, and that was the most critical time of my life. Anybody who's in 11th standard, and anybody who's studying science, because I wanted to be a doctor. Law was not my first choice. So those 2 years of my life, 11th and 12th, and because hepatitis C is something that really gets transmitted through blood, so it
Right.
really hit me hard. Hit me hard that why, because of no reason, no fault of mine, I
Right.
was now suffering from hepatitis, especially when I was in 11, such a critical time. So those 2 years were quite painful, and I had to undergo quite a painful treatment. But I think again, with family support, I came out of it. I changed my line in the sense that I did not pursue science after 12th, and
Okay.
I took up English literature. Then I went on to complete my master's in literature. And I would say that was the best time of my life, and campus and college. And later, my parents told me that they never expected me to go to college. I mean, they had never shared that with me,
Okay.
but they really never thought that I would ever be able to make it to a college. And they were also very terrified as to how I would feel, whether people would tease me, how would be the acceptability. But I think I had amazing teachers, I had amazing friends throughout, and even in college I was participating in debates. So after completing my post graduation, I immediately went to law school, because that was my second option always. That if not a doctor, I would become a lawyer.
Okay.
So I think that's how. And after that, I did my litigation for some time, and then I just switched over to advocacy, because I thought advocacy was a very good way to help society, help multinationals, help companies. It's basically a science, and it's not a subject; it's a way to think.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it would be great to apply that way to think to not only companies, but also to causes like thalassemia. And that's how I started applying advocacy to thalassemia as well.
Nice, Anubha. So, tell me about your self-love journey. How is your self-love journey, and how your self-love is helping others? You know,
Um, so I think I was born with it because uh, because of, again, parenting. I was never made to feel that I lacked something, because
right,
that feeling of lack is really what I've seen is behind people's lack of self love, or people's sense of low self esteem. So while I used to get upset about a couple of things like sports, almost alienation from sports, and then around adolescence, when I would look at people who were growing up fast and tall while I wasn't, that was the time when I did feel not even bad. I felt kind of surprised. There were
okay,
questions like, but I think I was too focused on studies, too focused on debates, and I also think that was a ploy by my parents and my sisters, because they knew that this would happen. They
right,
knew that I would get stuck somewhere or the other, because medicine interventions at that point in time were not so great. Now, when you look at thalassemia patients today, they look absolutely normal. They grow up like a normal person, and advancements are there, so
right,
they can lead an absolutely normal life. Uh, so self love, I think came from applause, because stage gave me that. I think stage had a huge role to play, especially because I took to stage after I was rejected. As far as dancing was
right,
concerned. By the way, I
right.
danced really well, but
Wow.
since I wasn't selected,
Yeah.
uh, that applause. And my mother told me that when you dance on the stage in an annual day, you're dancing with 100 other people. But when
Right.
you're speaking and when you're debating, you're the
You're the
only
only
one under
person. All
spotlight.
the
You're
limelight
the
is
only
yours.
person.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think that the seeds of legal profession also were sown uh, then only, because even when you are litigating or you are doing trial advocacy, you the one in front of the
Yes.
judge, and the
Yes.
credit is yours, the glory is yours, the discredit is yours, everything belongs to you. So one
Right.
negative thing was that it took me a lot of time to learn to be a team player, because I was so much on my own all my
Okay.
life.
Okay.
So I think, coming back to the topic, stage really contributed, towards uplifting me,
Mm-hmm.
uplifting my sense of self love.
Right.
And because so many people were clapping for me and saying good things, I think I developed that sense of self love. And from there, when people started drawing inspiration, so that's when I realized that not only can I do something good for myself, I can also motivate others.
Right.
So I think whenever I saw people down in the dumps or people depressed, especially fellow thalassemics, I would definitely go that extra mile to explain it to them as to uh, how it wasn't so bad. And that just became an addiction, loving myself and then also teaching others to love themselves and show
Right.
my own examples, show others examples, because there are lots of thalassemics out there who do really well in life. They are
Right.
doctors, they're genetic engineers. So I think it's oratory which has really helped me not only love myself but also teach others and communicate to others as to how to love yourself.
Lovely, Anubha. And in our episode, we always ask one gem for our goddesses, one actionable step that they can take if they feel stuck in life, or it's like a baby step. So,
So I think giving really helps.
mm-hmm.
Uh, though personally I'm not very comfortable with the word giving, and especially the way it is used uh, in abundance these days, because words like charity, giving, they assume a sense of ownership over something, that I'm giving it to you because you lack it and I have it. But because of lack of better word, I feel that when you're able to uplift somebody in any way, when you're able to give somebody something that the person really, really
Needs.
wants,
Yeah.
uh, and not necessarily because the person lacks it, but maybe because the person has to find it inside him or her.
Right.
Like Galileo said, you cannot teach anybody anything. You can only help them to find it within themselves.
Right.
So that's the giving that I'm referring to, not material things. So I think the gem would be really to find that one thing that you can help somebody with, in terms of uplifting their spirits, because I think there's nothing as delightful, nothing as overwhelming as being able to uplift somebody's spirit.
Right.
So that is definitely one gem I want to give. And one of the examples could be, in real life today during COVID, thalassemia patients and others also really suffering from acute blood shortage. And because of this lockdown, there has been absolute, shortage of blood, severe shortage of blood. And if you can't donate yourself, probably help people to go and donate, or motivate people to go and donate. Talk to people to go and donate. I'm promising you'll feel really, really good. So that's definitely one gem and one actionable item for everybody, and a request too.
That was so uplifting, Anubha. Seriously, that gem was itself was so uplifting. Thank you so much. And I'm sure our goddesses would like to follow you on your social media. So what are your social media handles where we can follow you?
So I go by the name of Thalassemia PAG on Facebook, and Anubha Taneja-Mukherjee on Facebook. On Twitter, I'm at PactHals. You can follow us there. I lead the group, so it's as good as following me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then our website is www.thalassemiapag.org.
Okay.
It would be great if you guys can visit us there and find all the other goddesses.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anubha, for sharing piece of your life, and such an uplifting experience it was to talk to you. So, goddesses, it's all about uplifting others, supporting others. That's the spirit of Planet Aphrodite. Getting women together and help each other, support each other. You know, we just need maybe some kind words, some encouraging words, and as Anubha said, we all have it within ourselves. It's not the question of lack. It has to be just brought out, like the child knows how to walk, the mother supports. So it was so wonderful, Anubha, talking to you, and wish you all the best for your future ventures, for your corporate career, and for everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Namaste.
so much, Meenal. Namaste.